What's up, guys? Welcome to the Parley Real Talk. Today, my guest, Mr. Rich Ninja Pham. Rich,
What's
brother,
up?
welcome to the Parley Real People Real Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a nice intro
Oh
you
man,
got there.
oh thank you, man. Listen, my pleasure. Look, I've watched you fight for a long time, man. I'm a fan of yours. I enjoy training with you when I get a chance. But the reason why I really want to have you today, man, is because of your tenacity. Like you had a hard fight a while ago. You suffered an injury, and all people
Yeah.
told you should heal. And what did you
hmm
do? Back and you won a belt. Man, tell me what kind of grit, what that took. What was your motivation?
Yeah, for sure. It was a really tough fight. I had broken both my eye sockets and a piece of my nose. And like it was probably the worst injury I ever had. Sitting in the hospital, not knowing if my vision would come back. I was pretty scared for it. And yeah, the doctors, everyone there checking me out, like they saw me vomiting and stuff. I'm not sure if it was from like just the impact or they were shining these lights in my eyes and that's what made me vomit. So they were like, yeah, you really got to consider your career at this point, because they just saw what rough shape I was in and they're basically telling me to stop competing. To come over that, it was really, really difficult, like getting out of the hospital. But what really made me keep going was when I saw the fight, just watching the fight itself, I was like, I couldn't accept this. Like, I knew I was much better, and like the way I performed was just unacceptable to me. So when I watched it, something in me told me, I just wanna move better, right? I want to see myself doing things the way I want to. And it wasn't, nothing about belts or any huge, massive goals. Just simply, I saw myself in a different light that I know I could perform better. And I just wanted to do that. No external goals tied to it. Just wanted to, become better. So that's what I did for this camp. I wasn't sure if I was going to take the fight. I just wanted to go through camp, see if my body can hold up, my head's okay, taking shots to the eyes. The eyes are okay. The actual eyeball itself didn't take any damage. I don't know. Right.
No,
I'm
that's
really
good.
thankful for that. So yeah, they told me my 2020 vision's still there. So it's just the bottom of the eye sockets. So, you know, they say
The
the
orbital
bottom
bone.
is very fragile. Yeah, the bottom is the most thinnest piece. So you can think like, why is the front of my face still intact, but the back of it, because it's such a thin piece, it breaks. So the eyeball was falling, and they had to operate on the one side to hold the eyeball up. And then part of my concern was like, what's it gonna feel like having this steel mesh in my face, getting hit with it? Is it gonna hurt? I asked the doctor. She's like, she doesn't really know. She never kind of been through this before. She says it's kind of you got to play it by ear, see what it feels like to get hit. And even my eye function itself, a lot of double vision is tied to these orbital fractures. You have double vision for sometimes it's not even solved, but thankfully it went away. But double vision was there for at least good 2 months after the surgery. So I didn't even know my vision was gonna go back to normal, right? But yeah, it was a slow process. Even though looking back, it happened in March. It's been about 9 months, so less than a year. I think it actually long process to me, but overall, I think when you look back, 9 months is a pretty good recovery
For,
phase.
for anybody that fights and hasn't dealt with something like this yet, what would be the advice you'd give? Like, what was the key thing for you that helped, as in like a support system, and like psychologically, what helped you? What was the best thing for your recovery?
Yeah, I think it comes down to just looking at your internal process, like making goals within yourself, like not I want to do this, I want to do no, not about like doing something outside of yourself. It's just things that goals that you meet on a daily basis. Like I want to move this way, I want to be able to, see punches again, I want to be able to take shots, or I want to just be able to like throw hard shots on the bag and just pile those up day by day. And just paying attention to your own bodily function. For me, like my background's in kin, right? So it's all about, what can I do? What my joint function, my muscular function, cardiovascular function, neurological function, and that's how I look at things. If all those boxes are checked, I'm pretty happy, right? With each of those domains getting checked off, then it keeps you motivated. So I guess part of that too is, if you're in this sport, I would recommend people to learn more about the body, right? Because I
Yeah.
switched from computer science to kinesiology mainly because I just wanted to become like a better fighter, like learn how to become a better fighter. Uh, and if you're in the game, it's like, you got to train they say mind and body, right? I think everyone should be studying the body as well. And when you study that and you achieve these small little things, it means more to you because you know the science behind it. So it becomes more gratifying and keeps you motivated.
What would you say by learning that physiology? What would you say was the biggest like translatable information that was able to impact your training right away once you started doing that?
Yeah, I guess for this case specifically, because the eyes, that's your neurological system, right? So being able to react to things again, being able to see, like we have Oseo Shar, she's dealt with my concussions for a long time. And we have these measurable tests called saccades. So it's a metronome. You have 2 points and you look at them left and right like this, just with your eyes. And then you put a metronome on and you see how fast your eyes can match that. And like basically, it should be about 180. I don't know, maybe I'll pull it up on my phone now and you could hear what 180 sounds like. So you can see it's a pretty fast pace for your eyes to be going back and forth. And you're not just like moving your eyes back and forth. You're trying to really focus on each point every time the beat comes, right? So, and basically that's a measurable task for your neurological system right there. That's kind of an example, right? I do this every day when I brush my teeth. So I have like little stickers on my mirror and then I'll play the metronome. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, it's pretty fast, right? And then I'll be brushing my teeth and I'm seeing if my eyes can keep up with this pace.
wow, that's
And
pretty cool.
basically, that's a test for me every single morning I wake up. What's my neurological function like? So if
Wow.
I'm falling behind 180 beats, I know my nervous system, oh, it's going to be slow. If I go spar, I'm probably not going to be the best. If 180 feels easy, then I'm like, okay, this is a good day. Like I might feel physically sore, but if my eyes can keep up, I know my neurological system's on point. So that's kind of an example there. And just learning about these small little tests, that's a neurological test. You can go into muscles and joints, like how your joint range of motion is. Like every day, I see a workout as kind of like a baseline test. You're baseline testing yourself every single day. Right? And then most of the time, you're accumulating all this fatigue and damage. And the end of fight camp, you let your body recover. And then you go back to your baseline test. You should be flying through the roof with everything, feeling stronger, feeling faster, better reactions, everything.
What do you feel looking back at that fight? What did you feel was the biggest thing that didn't allow you to move the way that you wanted? Was it overtraining? Was it mental? What was it that didn't allow you to flow the way you wanted to?
That's a really good question. I was like constantly studying that video, constantly studying that fight for actually even the fight before that when I lost to Jake. Like it was probably the most frustrating process. I've never lost like these two, like the last two fights before this one. Those are the biggest losses I've ever had in my career. So it was like a big shock to me. And I kind of really took on an analytical state of mind after these fights to just break everything down. And part of that, actually, the last fight, it was more emotional and mental for sure, because knowing there's the one championship contract on the line, that totally influenced my style. My style has always been more to be defensive a little bit. And even the way I was training, it was just going forward, forward, forward. Physically, I always trained pretty hard. Maybe I didn't overtrain so much, but like mentally, my mind wanted to get that win too much. It's almost like overly committed to the victory. And I learned that the hard way for sure. And I realized why that's true because I watched the fight. There's a couple of times I took a big knee and then they gave me a count. I wasn't really hurt, but like I knew I was behind. And then I was also super out of breath, but I decided to sit back a little bit. Before that point, I think maybe 80% of my punches missed. But that moment when I decided to sit back and then just chill a little bit, my first two punches landed. My accuracy was way up. And through that whole fight, if you watch it, like my accuracy, I was missing everything because of the double vision. But I think I was also missing things because I was too eager to get that victory, whereas just needed to sit back in my flow like I've always been for the last like 10 years. But through COVID, I
Oh,
felt like I lost that flow, and now I'm finally getting it back.
oh, it's a pleasure watching you in the gym. You're so smooth, and you're very quick to like notice small things in movement and correct and like change your flight path. I always like that about you. But I did notice you were like very active in that fight. Like you could tell
Yeah,
that you wanted it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
what was the biggest thing like you adjusted for this fight now where you just won the belt?
yeah. I basically all I can say is Giorgio Petrosian because he's always been my idol style, and he's a perfect example of kind of sitting back and waiting for the shot. Perfect countering style. In that last fight that I lost with Opposite, I threw like so much volume, but you see
Yeah.
Giorgio, I was trying to go for a style more low volume, high accuracy. So at least landing 80-70% of my shots being more efficient, right? Instead of like missing 70% of your shots, getting tired, um, tapping into your reserves when you don't need to, rather being just trying to be super efficient. If I threw something, I wanted to land it. So that's kind of what I was at for the fight that just happened last week. And it was pretty good. A couple shots that I fell off balance, and I knew like, oh my God, my coaches would not approve of this. Sean would kill me for dropping this hand, or like, oh, why am I swinging so much? But it was definitely a huge improvement from my last fight. I feel mentally, just my focus in there. That's what I noticed.
Yeah, you see, yeah, you looked like you were just sharp, man. And so that spinning back fist, I seen somebody post on IG that you were footage of you training that before the
Oh, the
fight.
spinning
And
back kick. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so is that something that you were specifically looking to do because you saw that this person would give you an opportunity, or is it just something that you
Yeah.
were just sharp? I know you use.
Yeah, to be honest, this back kick I didn't prepare it at all, but everyone knows like that's been my thing from like
Yeah,
the very beginning. I landed in sparring, I landed almost like in pad work all the time. It just comes out, right? And but the reason for that is that spinning back kick, my Shaolin Kung Fu teacher, Sifu Gung and Kwok Wai, 12 years old, we were practicing side kicks, back kicks. And that was his thing. Like we started that right from the beginning of the curriculum. So I practiced that since my whole childhood. It's just the technique we practiced, but now with doing Muay Thai, I finally can, I can finally land the kick. When you train it in as a kid, you're training the power, you're training the technique. But when you actually go to fight, you're training to set it up and actually land the kick. So now it's finally coming together, and it lands pretty often.
that's very cool that you mentioned it. I remember I trained briefly at the Guac Y there at the mall at Kennedy and Clarence in
Oh
Brantford.
yeah. Good
Yeah.
times. I still have dreams about his location in Mississauga, and I was going to both locations, Mississauga
Yeah,
and Brampton.
the upstairs there.
Yeah, the upstairs on
Yeah.
Cement Court. Yeah,
Yes.
so
So
it's a
how did
great
it? What did you?
background.
It is. It's a Hungar style, right? It's
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
Hungar. Yeah.
yeah.
How did you? What did you use to set up in this case? Because I seen you lifting like you were trying to. Were you faking the teep or faking the round kick?
Actually, the finishing kick, if no one really noticed it, but I noticed it. He's clinching me right before I threw that last kick, and I landed a right knee in the clinch. He was throwing knees all night, but I landed when I throw my knees. I try to make sure it really hurts, and I heard him. He lost his breath when I threw this right knee, and then after that right knee, you'll notice I shove him off a little bit,
Yep.
and then basically he's moving back. So I usually, if I'm moving forward, a good tactic is to bring the knees up. It could be a teep, it could be a knee. So just kind of like walking in Muay Thai style. And then from that, he brought his check up, and my mind just threw it out of nowhere. Because he's checking on the left side, so my mind goes to the other side. I know my back kick can land on the right side of his ribs.
Yeah, that dropped him hard. So you won the belt, man. How good did that feel after maybe a few months ago dealing with
Yeah.
this loss, people telling you to stop, and now you're sitting there holding the belt? How good that feel, man?
It feels unbelievable. I didn't expect it to feel so emotional, for sure, because coming into this fight, I'm like, oh, it's just another fight. I'm probably going to win and not even be happy because A couple like last year, I was fighting for a one championship contract, and now I'm just doing some random fight, right? That's actually where my mind was leading up to the whole thing. But once I got in there, and then I think main thing is having the hometown fight. It's amazing. Last two fights were in Calgary. You don't really know anyone, and then coming back, having the home support, combat arts, my clients. My client bought a table. I saw them. Uh, it's Randy. You know Randy, yeah.
Yep.
He bought a table. I see him and his family there. It just like a poof of adrenaline and epinephrine, every single adrenal hormone you could think of. It just like woke up my mind because it was a late event. I was feeling sleepy, but I saw these guys and I saw everyone else screaming. Woke like, and then I, of course, Vic winning the fight feels great too, you know. But just the fight, just not even the fight starting yet, I was already hyped up. So it's crazy.
What was the title of the organization? It was Waco, right?
It's just a promotional belt, so it's specifically to Fitzpatrick's Rise of the Warrior. It's his promotional belt. Yeah. So, you know, the belt's really not important for me. I'm just happy I was able to go through camp. My body's holding up and I could actually do it. And it just, you know, this fight, I was really going to decide if I was going to stop competing or continue competing. Because if I knew had a feeling like I would win, but I would still not kind of feel motivated to keep going. But obviously the feelings were very different this time. I won, and it was a lot of happiness, right? Didn't expect that, to be honest.
What are those check boxes that you need in order for you to keep competing? What's the litmus?
Yeah, the big one is connections, to be honest. This Muay Thai kickboxing game in Ontario is very, very difficult. You know, we got Kieran Kettle running the promotional Muay Thai in Calgary, at least. That's bringing up Canada's Muay Thai professional game, at least. But for me, I think kickboxing my specialty, so I want to focus on that. And it's all connections. I need to have really good fights. One, it might be good highlight reel knockouts like this. Someone on the internet's gonna notice it, and I'm gonna get that one message from the big promotion, you know, ISPA or something, to go fight on the promotion professionally. That's probably how it's gonna start, and then maybe the second time around it will be a world professional title fight. And I think I really thought about this going into one championship. If that was the other route, you know, I'm 34. Even if I got into one championship, I need if you're going to be in there, you might as well go to the top. I'm not going to go to one championship, have one fight, and then that's it, right? So for me, it's like I want to get something out of it, have something on my resume. So I think this would be the smarter route to get some kind of world title and, you know, continue with my career afterwards and make some real money, because everyone knows Muay Thai and kickboxing is really difficult to make money in Canada.
Yeah. So, but your goal is to try to get onto those big promotions and get that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously any fighter would say yes to fighting on those big promotions just once. If I fight on one championship just once, I'd be pretty happy with that. But my main goal is to get a world championship title, a professional kickboxing title. Yeah.
So how's your training now? When you started training again after this injury and going forward now, what things are you going to do now to kind of have that longevity so that you can sustain that goal, so that you're not taking too much damage on the way there?
Yeah, for sure. I think I got to follow suit with some of the big goats in the game that are super defensive. You know, you see Floyd Mayweather, Saenchai, how are they able to fight into their 40s? They're just extremely defensive. Their defense is on point. No one can hit them. So I think that's really the only way to get my career to move forward and still be healthy by the end of it. So I'm going to keep working on my defense, you know, hopefully finish fights without getting hit. And the main thing is, my face, of course, I'm not sure how durable it is anymore. So I can't get hit that much. And I tore my ACL back that's good though. I'm okay with my joints, but when it comes to like bones or especially the brain, you know, can't really condition that. So my main thing is defense. And then if I can finish the fight quickly, I plan to make my bones as hard as steel to finish fights as quickly as possible.
What do you do? What do you do for the conditioning?
So I was just finishing. I was thinking, after the fight, the best time to do the hard body conditioning is after a fight, given that your body is still somewhat functional and you're not too injured from it. Because if you do these things in camp, it's not going to work. So in terms of timing, you got to do this like way outside the camp, in my opinion. So I have this sandbag over here. It looks like an ordinary bag, but it's filled with completely with sand and rubber mulch. So especially with the cold a little bit, it feels almost like concrete. So to be honest, I think that's the best way. If people ask about conditioning shins, people do like the bottle rubbing and all that stuff. I think that's a good warm up, because what you need is you need to be doing something with your adrenaline pumping to be able to tolerate high impact, right? That's the fastest way to condition your shins. If you ask any professional fighter, they'll be like, go kick more, go hit the bag, go spar. That's how you condition your shins, right? So that's basically it. You just hit the bag. I just happen to have a really, really hard bag. I think it's gonna speed my conditioning up, and nutrition on the other side, making sure you heal from it and your body doesn't break from it. So drinking my bone marrow broth that I've been for years. My friend gave me some dit da jiao.
Nice.
Appreciate that, and he even gave me the wine. I haven't played around with that yet, so just some things to experiment with. But I would say my bone broth is probably the biggest factor for recovering from that conditioning.
What type of bone are you using? From what animal?
So is beef bones with the as much as possible. I can get the big marrow bones with the marrow inside. Studying TCM and acupuncture, they say that bone marrow is like the key thing to kind of help with your bones, but also your blood. And if your blood is really nourished, your recovery is going to be, the best it could be.
So how much are you drinking and how often?
Yeah, so I used to drink a lot, but now it's just I feel like drinking too much. It's hard to train, so I'll drink it before training. Ideally, maybe just 250 milliliters. And then maybe on my off days when I'm not training so much, a little bit more, 500 to a liter. But the instant pot's great. I used to use a 40-liter pot and make like 40 liters for the month and freeze it all. But now with the instant pot, you can make it within,
No problem.
the setup is probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You just throw the vegetables and the bones in there. An hour later, the instant pot's pretty much done. So I'll cook it for the week. About 2 liters a week I end up finishing or so if I'm training hard. Maybe 1 to 2 liters a week. Yeah. So not much, but it's there's a lot of fat on that bone broth. If you get the good bones, it's like a nice inch of fat. You'll see the post that I make. It's out there.
I'll put it in the link. What is your like for somebody who has these kind of goals, and for other people who want to start looking into getting fighting into like chase this career? What kind of hours are you putting in weekly on your training?
Yeah, if you're going professional, going from the jump from amateur to professional, I think is a big jump. And I basically try to train as much as the Thais. Back when I visited them, like in 2018, I went to Phuket Top Team, and I stayed there for a whole month. And I just wanted to see how Thais train. Everyone hears and talks about how Thais train, running in the morning for like 10 kilometers and doing like 500 kicks and skip knees to finish classes. Basically, I try to follow that suit in terms of volume, but I kind of modify it in terms of the like running, for example, running twice a day, 10Ks or 8Ks a day. I think that's crazy. So basically, I'll mix it up. I won't run every day. I'll do skipping instead, or I'll do rollerblading, or I'll do shuffling on the treadmill. So you have some different joint actions and you're not overloading the same movement pattern where it's going to cause injury, right? So, but overall, in terms of time, they train 2.5 hours every session, one in the morning, one at night or in the evening. So you're looking at about 5 hours a day. And that itself is a lot, but I think the main thing is the stuff in between. Like you gotta be after the 2.5 hours, you got to be eating right away because you want to be fully digested for your session in the evening, right? And then what you're eating is important, so you gotta put time into the cooking the right things. That this is just my case at least. Spend most of my time cooking, just daily chores and stuff because I need everything in my daily life to be in order. So I once I wake up, I can just jump into training. If my clothes are not folded, dishes not done, food's not meal prep's not done for the week, I can't wake up and jump into training. So I think that's the big thing for going to professional, right? When you're really looking at your recovery, it's about 5 hours of training a day, 6 days a week. But you might tag on like another 2 hours a day on just prepping all your stuff to make sure you recover and prepare for your session, stretching out, going to massages, treatments and stuff. Either you're going to treatments or you're trying to fix yourself if you have the knowledge, which luckily I can do a lot of the stuff myself, but I still need to go see my chiro, my massage therapist, my osteo. So like once I see them, I know I can really feel my body on the next level. And I think that's probably the second piece as well, having a team of professionals, health professionals to tune up your body to that next level. So you're looking at like doing all these things. It's like, I feel like it's an 8-hour job.
But I guess that's the real difference, right? It's the discipline, not just the discipline to go train, but the discipline to be doing that work in between. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, going to bed early, sleeping good quality 8 hours so you can wake up fresh. All these things, weekends going out, forget about it, right? Like but this is what I enjoy, so it's no problem for me. And I would say that for anyone else starting up, like if you don't enjoy this, don't do it. If you want to go out for sure. Like, because if you're going to force yourself to remove things from your lifestyle, it's just not going to work. You got to accept it, right? Maybe you can try it for a camp or 2 camps, see if it's something that you can permanently change in your life. But I'm a firm believer of, whatever you practice it for life. Even after I'm done competing, I still want to be training lots. I still want to be very physically active. And, things that I do, I plan on doing it for life, right?
What is your like cap of when have you had that conversation with yourself? Like, so what is it?
Like in terms of when I stop competing?
Yeah, like have you decided like because I know George St. Pierre, he did that as well. Like he already had he stayed disciplined to what he said. Like he's like, when I get to this age, I'm done, right? And some fighters, they'll say that, but then they'll keep fighting because they don't want to give up. So what is that for you? What have you decided?
Yeah, so I've decided 35 is the magical number, because just studying fighters, I see that at 35, they're playing very conservatively. And they play conservatively because their body's just kind of, maybe not physical strength. I really believe someone's physical strength, you could be very strong into your 40s, but your cardiovascular function and neurological function, those things, I think maybe after 35, most people start to go down. For me, that's what I set for myself. And now being 34, I'm like on the fence. It's like it's a midlife crisis. And part of me is justifying like, I probably do more than the average person, so I can extend it a little bit more. But even in my mind, I'm 34. I'll say 35 and, the whole year. So really 36. Once I turn 36, then,
start reassessing.
Before that point, I'm still 35. So that means I can compete for another year, right?
You're still young, man. So what's the goal after you've done competing? Do you still want to be involved in the martial arts community, and at what capacity?
Yeah, I think I wasn't planning on being really involved or just coaching in general. I know I live in Alliston now, so I do want to work here close to home and maybe build something fresh. Everyone always says, like, when are you going to open a school? When are you going to open a school? My lifestyle right now, I still enjoy a lot of different activities like snowboarding, traveling, stuff like that. With my girlfriend, we're very like out and about ADD kind of soul. So I think once that's done, and like if I settle down, have kids, and I'm ready to just really stay in one spot, that's when I would be opening up a school or something, and taking on the mentoring and coaching role, because I finally understand coaching now after losing the big contracts. there's something inside of you. Most people coach, I think, because they haven't achieved something in their life, or there's just something further that they were still fighting for, right? But that journey hasn't finished. So just living vicariously through other people. Even when I train my kid clients, you see the potential in them, like, oh, like, you could have the style that I've always wanted to do, or you could move this fast. Those are the feelings that I see sometimes in myself. I just know it's a matter of time. I'm not going to do it right now. Maybe like in my 40s or something, when I'm really settled down. But for that time being, I'll be just working as a acupuncturist. I help out my family. I'm a realtor as well, part time. Not a really good combination with doing all these things at once. But now I'm trying to do things one at a time. So right now it's just competing. I just finished acupuncture school, just focusing on my current clients of personal training still. And then once I'm finished competing, I'll probably be starting my acupuncture career, still training people because that's what I enjoy. I took on acupuncture mainly to fix people, but I also like to train people. It's like you break people down and you fix them up. It's kind of yin and yang, right? It's a process, and that's how people get better. And yeah, that's kind of my future there.
Who's been the most influential instructors in your life?
Oh, so many. I would say so many because I learn from everyone. I try to learn from absolutely everyone I bump into. Right now, I'm working with Crew Joey, Crew Kevin at Combat. I'm working with Eric at Mafa, Sean at Grindhouse, and Ram from Triumph in Scarborough. So like, just talking about recently, because I can talk forever, but just most recently, I would say I learned a lot from Sean from Grindhouse. Just learning how to keep my composure with things. He really kicked me back into. Sorry.
On the boxing side of things?
On the boxing side of things, yeah, he still trains kickboxing though, so it's a very strict kickboxing style that he's doing, whereas Crew Joey, everyone else, it could be very more Muay Thai, especially Eric. He's constantly clinching me and like throwing heavy knees on me, throwing hard kicks on the pads. But with Sean, it's all about like refining, and with this last camp, it's just been all about details. I've been super anal about every single detail. Did I drop my hand? Not just dropping your hand, but did I drop it an inch from here to here, right? It's a difference from your hand on your forehead to your chin, down to that level of precision. When am I turning my punch? Or like, when is my weight really being shifted on my jab? So I think I've learned that most for the last year or so, trying to really break down the details. When you throw a kick on the bag, what are you visualizing, right? How am I pulling back? Where's my weight shifting? And we do this routine called the 1200 reps at Combat, just throwing 1200 reps. And my new thing is like Bruce Lee said, if you're the man that does one weapon 10,000 times, I would like to branch out on that and say like, you fear the person doing one weapon in 10,000 different circumstances. You throw your left kick, but it could be countering countering a jab, countering a cross, hitting the body, hitting the hip flexor, hitting the ribs, right? It looks like it's all to the body, but it's not. There's still many different levels of position. You can break it down. So like, that's when I train now, that's what I try to keep my mind on. I really like my morning sessions when it's kind of like a meditative process, just going into all those precision and details, just losing yourself within the reps and kind of feeling like every single kick has a different purpose. And I think that's been the most beneficial. And you see people in the game, how they can dominate with one single weapon, right? That's what.
Yeah, because they know how to use it in every single way possible.
Yeah.
It's so diverse. They have it's really a depth ability to use that one weapon. Do you use a lot of video footage to kind of watch and analyze yourself afterwards to see position and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I think YouTube now is like the biggest tool ever. On top of that, they have slow motion function on it. It's like it couldn't be any more easy for us. I think that's why the game's gone so much better, because everyone's got so much footage online. You could watch any fighter you want in slow motion. I even use this app where it flips the screen mirrored. So it's like if there's an orthodox fighter I want to watch in Southpaw, then I can use this screen and watch them there. And for me, that's like extra practice. Your body can't, if my body can't train anymore, I can watch footage and still be training neurologically, right? So it's just like extra reps and mental reps when I watch footage.
When you're working a new technique and you're trying to bring your B game to your A game, what's the process of development when you bring it to sparring?
Yeah, always I say you got to practice it. Sounds bad, but on newer people, on more beginner people, if you jump into like sparring your same guys that are kind of at your level with a new technique, it's probably not going to work. So I would say you got to practice it on maybe on new people. That's why it's always beneficial to work with everyone, right? Because you can work something different even with someone that's more beginner. And even, I would say beginners, they have like this weird style, weird technique. Sometimes your eyes can't pick it up. So it's good to work with them sometimes. But if there's a new technique, that's the kind of the first step. Before that, on the background, on my own homework side, like you gotta rep that technique, like I said, thousands of times on the bag. For me, I have different types of bags, so I try to like utilize different tools so it feels like different. So your body has different kinesthetic feeling with each technique. When you're throwing on a certain bag, it's different, right? With different bags. So just repping it out. When you feel like you've repped it out enough, put it into sparring with some new guys, and then eventually work it with your high level guys or same level guys that you're working with.
And what advice would you give to somebody where they get to a place where they're proficient, but they're not feeling like they're growing? They've kind of plateaued and they're getting a little bit frustrated from this. How do you quantify and how do you like surpass that plateau and get to the next level?
Yeah, most of the time I feel people feel that way because I could be one, they're not really looking into the details, or maybe they're just not patient enough to look into the details of what they're doing. Like, it's just a jab, but are you looking at like where's that jab starting? Is it from your forehead? Is it coming from down low? Every jab's different. That's one. And then two, what I like to do is, training at home and by myself a lot, it does get boring. And, you definitely feel like you're plateauing or you're not getting anything done sometimes. I branch out. I look at different sports. I love to watch breakdancing, for example, just like their athleticism, their flexibility, mobility. Everyone, there's like a big fitness trend on mobility and like doing all these simple exercises. I would say if you want to see true mobility, just go look at breakdancers. They're putting that mobility into action.
Yeah.
And, you can see it. And that's why my style, I like to, I do a lot of back bending. I'm very flexible. It helps with my evasion to have that mobility, right? So that's kind of how I one, keep training interesting. Two, don't plateau. Branch out, right? Like I said, you study, if you're into fighting, you should study health. Also study other sports. GSP was kind of, I remember him talking about that. He always looked at other sports. Gymnastics, he would watch track and field. It's just running. But, when you look at what muscles they're engaging or whatnot, and you can kind of compare like, are they engaging the same muscles as maybe a kick? And then you can learn about that, just from practical experience. And to be honest, like you don't have to go to school for it. Like doing this, there's so much knowledge online. You can learn plenty just from branching out, looking at other sports, looking at online content. Just gotta really search through the fluffy stuff, but there's good stuff out there.
When you like you've been doing this for a long time, you got a lot of experience. So what was the difference between then and now? What's the criteria and how do you pick the people who are on your team? How do you know if the person is right for you and you're going to benefit from them by being on your team?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, before it used to be like whoever's in the gym and who's available, like, yo, you want to do some drilling, and then that ends up being your training partner. Now I'm definitely a little bit more selective. One is just I'm always analyzing myself, so I know what I want to work on. Say I want to work on, having more structure and stability, which was a certain point I wanted to be more stable with the way I check, the way I kick. So I knew Eric, and it was a Muay Thai fight coming up with Opposite. I wanted to be strong and stable. So I thought, working with Eric would be great. One, he's super heavy guy. He's always been the hardest kicker I know. So I know if I could check kicks against him, I'm going to be very stable and strong myself. So you're kind of looking at physical attributes, Also looking at what skill the person has. He's a great kicker, so I know, and he's really big on moving forward and clinching. So I knew that dealing with opposites, also a clincher, I needed to work my clinch game. So that's why I chose Eric, right? So physical attributes, skill set, um, pretty simple. Those two right there will kind of pick your training partners. And I think the next level is, having multiple training partners. It's really, really difficult in terms of scheduling, right? Because you want your weekly schedule to be consistent. So, you're working with 5 different people. You're trying to negotiate with everyone a time that works for everyone. It's convenient, because to be consistent, it's got to be convenient for everyone, right? Not gonna pull someone's teeth out and make them wake up at 6 a.m. for you or something, right? So yeah, it's logistically, would say is the main challenge. Like finding training partners, probably easy. You could look at someone like, oh, we got good picks. They're strong. They're gonna make me strong. But logistically, oh, he's got a full-time job, 9 to 5. I don't have a full-time job. We work on opposite schedules. How's that gonna work? I think the logistics of working with training partners is the hardest thing, especially with adult life right now. Hitting your 30s, people got kids, obviously people working. It's really, really difficult, the logistics of it.
And what about with regards to like your actual coaches and cornermen?
Yeah, for honestly, it's that's been really, really confusing for me the last few fights, because again, logistics, right? Like Crew Joey was really busy with the business at one point, and then I felt like I didn't know who was going to be in my corner or what to do, and like there's so many options. I just start working with people, and obviously I think there's an understanding too. The first few times you work, you're kind of like sizing each other up, and then you just commit to something after, right? And say like, oh, let's work for this camp, and that's it. For my cornerman, I'm looking for people who are in kind of diverse in their mindset, like not too narrow-minded. I feel like my style is very unorthodox, and my training regimen itself is something I like to keep to, and I'm creative, and I've created it myself. So most coaches want you to train exactly how they train, or they know how to train, right? But actually, I'm looking for coaches that are more open-minded, and usually they're more open to how I train, so I can keep on with what I believe, with what I've studied. And just that open-mindedness too, I like to bring a new perspective. So that's the kind of coaching mentality I like. And a lot of my coaches, it's kind of like they're kind of fighters slash coaches, so they still have that fighter spirit within them, and I think that works really well. So it's like
Relatable.
we feel like we're teammates. We're just kind of working, hustling together. But then when it's time to come in the ring, it's like he's got the steering wheel. He's telling me where to go, right? So it's kind of a double dynamic, which is cool.
What is it that made you want to start competing in the very first place?
That was like way back then. I remember I was just always into martial arts, and I wanted to really test myself. That's all. And having my first goal was just to have like some random amateur belt. And then once I got the belt, I realized like I got this belt from doing 2 fights. It feels like too easy, and I just craved more of that challenge. But I guess, yeah, that's what it comes down to. Wanting to challenge yourself. I did Kung Fu for a long time. And, a lot of traditional arts, they making that branch into full contact. It's a big transition step, right? And it's like, you train all these moves over and over again, but then it's like none of it works. That was always a big motive for me. Like I wanted to put what I theoretically had in my mind into real application. So just that process of it, I really enjoyed.
Have you found that you're understanding, like you're training in the traditional martial arts and then you've transitioned into combat sports? Do you ever have those moments where you see the principles or ideas of those traditional lessons start to manifest in actual combat? It just doesn't look the same as you were taught it, but the principles have been there the whole time.
Yeah. I think the biggest principle I noticed is in Kung Fu, it's always offense and defense at the same time. So it's like you throw a punch, and it might look like this, right? Like, why is his hand coming all the way here? But and I notice it like, then you compare a big kung fu punch like this, where you're blocking like with these wide movements, but in boxing, it's pretty much the same. It's just a little bit shorter now, right? Everything's just more condensed. Everything is still offense and defense. It just you have to look very carefully at the movement. So like you are, that's what I mean with like if you're practicing jabs on the bag, are you just thinking about the offense part? You're missing the defense part, right? Like each jab, you want to be thinking about parrying at the same time or slipping at the same time. And if you do that 10,000 times compared to just a lot of people think, oh, you got to throw your jab 10,000 times. You're just building the muscle, you know, they're just focusing on the actual punch, right? They're not focusing on their head movement, not focusing on the parry. No offense and defense. They're missing 50%. I think that's a big one for traditional arts. Well, for me, having kung fu offense and defense at the same time. You throw a kick, it's actually a defense. It's you know, you're blocking something. Or if a big example is in kung fu, we block with the forearm, like you're trying to hit the kick. Your defense, it's not a block. You're actually trying to hurt someone, right? With that block. So that one's a little bit new. I haven't seen it too much in Muay Thai. You know, you do see the elbow strikes as kind of an offense and defense too sometimes, but that's probably the biggest principle.
So have you totally thrown away or forgotten your lessons from your traditional martial arts background? Or do
I would say, yeah, the practical aspects, I definitely don't block like this anymore.
yeah.
But the conditioning aspects of traditional martial arts, I think, are amazing, and I still keep that, like doing qigong, doing hard body conditioning. I have makiwara board here. You
Nice.
know, I think those tools, they should still be used in real combative training. Yeah, but the conditioning aspects of traditional martial arts and the zen of it, I think a lot of fighters miss that these days. They don't have that zen if they didn't start from traditional arts. It's just like, you know, they're just dug in there trying to just brute strength, and you know, you don't see much respect in their style either, right? And that's what, well, Muay Thai, at least, that's what it's all about. It's trying to keep that culture of respect and still be zen and humble and whatnot, even though you're training to be devastating.
If you could go back in time and meet yourself starting out, how coachable do you think you would be, and how would you approach yourself as a trainer?
So how long ago you think? Are we talking 10 years, 5 years ago?
Whatever you like, whatever you want to pick.
Uh,
Let's say when you first started fighting.
yeah.
What was the difference between Rich when he first started training to fight and Rich when he first started training traditional martial arts?
Oh, traditional martial arts.
Yeah,
Okay.
for both. So, like, what's the contrast? Rich, as a young man starting martial arts and traditional martial arts, what was he like as a student? How coachable would he have been? And then what
Right,
was
right,
it in that Rich to when Rich started training combative martial arts? How coachable and what was he like then?
right. Okay. I would say the traditional Richard, younger Richard, he's super coachable. So he's always just doing whatever he's told. That's kind of like the traditional way, right? You're in the dojo, instructor does this, he moves like this, you move like that, and that's pretty much how you function. It's like all mirror neurons. You don't have any other question. You don't question what you're doing. You're just doing it with like full belief and commitment that this is the right technique. So obviously, it's pretty obvious, you know, with combative Richard, at that point, he's already questioned things like, does this really work? Should I throw my techniques like this? He's already starting to explore like the practical world on like what really works. So older Richard would go to younger Richard, be like, "Are you, are you really doing anything that works?" Basically, you should start to question, you know, what you're doing. But at the same time, you should still do it. I'm a firm believer of just taking on a system. Not if your instructor tells you to do something, just do it. Like you're there as a student. When you're there as a student, you should be fully a student. But outside of class, you could branch and question, do whatever you want. Don't disrespect the class and start, question the instructor. Oh, I should throw my kick like this instead. Oh, it's not good because in this circumstance it doesn't work. Obviously, because there's a time and place for everything, right? But when you're learning, just be a full student. I would say tell younger Richard, keep doing what you're doing, right? You know, don't question Sifu. Just do what Sifu tells you, but make sure you put your own time out, put your own time in outside of the training classes, which is kind of what I did anyway, right? Classes would end. I would be in a kung fu class for like the kids class an hour and a half, adults class an hour and a half, 3 hours, and even after 3 hours, I felt like I still needed to stay there. I remember he gave me the keys, and I was lucky I could stay there by myself and kind of just that was my time to question everything and start to put in more practical things like, oh, I saw boxing from this anime. I should start to incorporate boxing. That's what I started to do, right? I put the kung fu that I learned. I was watching a lot of Ippo at the time, and I started to pick up boxing on my own time. So I was like, oh, what if I could that was the time to put the techniques together. So I would say, yeah, put the time in, but put the time in outside of the class as well. Make sure you do your homework. That's it.
And just before I finish up here, what was it like on that transition, the first time you actually started sparring? How different was that world to what you've been used to, and how did you overcome that?
Oh, I remember precisely. If I think Jax from Combat,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
big guy, and he was still very big and strong when he was leading, competing back in the day.
Yeah.
And that was, I think my first sparring session might have been with him. And all I knew back then was how to do side kick. I didn't know how to check or do nothing. Just side kick and spinning back kick, like I said. This guy comes in and he's low kicking my leg like crazy. Luckily, though, with all the kung fu horse stance and conditioning, I'm like, why is he trying to kick my leg? Like, that's not going to hurt, But obviously, without shin guards, it would have hurt. But if he had shin guards, I'm like, this is stupid. That was kind of like my first transition into combat. I was like, just pure confusion. Like, why is he kicking my legs? Like, why is he like just so like forward all the time? I was more about like flowing. Like, where's his flow? There's no flow for him, right? And it was a big clash. It's kind of like water and concrete meeting each other. That's how I would explain it.
That's cool. All right, man. Well, listen, like I appreciate your time and your knowledge. I love watching you train, man. I'm a big supporter. Do you have anything coming up you want to plug out there for people, something to get ready to watch for? What's happening next?
Yeah, for sure. I would say nothing's actually lined up yet, but I know Combat's hopefully having a show in the summertime, and I want to support the gym, of course. So I'm looking forward to fighting on their show. They're doing one soon, March 2nd, but hopefully another one in the summer. So hopefully I'll be on that one in the summer after I do all these random traveling and chores that I have to finish up with. And then, yeah, just stay tuned on my IG page. All the information there will be there, of course, for the upcoming fights.
All right, perfect, man. So listen, man, all the best of luck. I wish you congratulations on your success. Hopefully I can get some time sparring with you so I can learn a little bit. And,
yeah, definitely.
See you again, man.
Yes, boss. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Take care, brother.
Thank you.